Alrighty, guys. So in the next tribe reveal, we're going to be going over Beast. Just as a reminder, this will be one of the tribes that comes out on the original December 3rd release of the patch, which is going to be Beast, Dragons, Quill Wars, Pirates, Naga, Mechs. Where this is relevant is with the just being 6 tribes, there's only going to be one ban every turn. So all of these original first couple of tribes are going to be very relevant because you're going to be seeing them a lot. So if we go into Beasts, Beasts have had a big synergy change where they're now focused a lot on beetles. If you remember there was the one tavern tier guy I can't spell beetle. Tavern tier spell that Boona beetles that had a change where it's going to be giving two beetles 2 times. So you get like 8 stats and it looked like a nerf. There's going to be a bunch of these payoffs for playing Beast, buffing the Beetles, and this is where the Beetle spell is actually going to become stronger. So let's just start going into them, and we can kind of see as we go. So first, Tavern Tier 1, we have a new one, Buzzing Vermin. This is a 1 cost 1/1 Death Rattle summon a 2/2 Beetle. So you can see this trades into something like Mana Saber pretty well, where it deals with the 1 health and then has a Beetle. This is a potential just payoff minion for the Beetle in the early game. A 3/3 is pretty reasonable stats for a Tavern Tier 1. Mana Saber, because there's not a lot of we have something like Hummingbird and Snapjaw coming up. Those are kind of really the only payoffs for the couplings early, but the main thing is there's not a lot of payoffs for the summoning effects right now. So Mana Saber's probably going to be a little bit worse when we're in this non-trinket meta where you potentially get less payoffs for minions dying and stuff like that. So as we kind of said, Timer Tier 2, we have Hummingbird. This is kind of really good and really enabled by both of the 1 drops, so it's going to be a little bit cleaner going into Hummingbird. Similarly, Snapjaw can also just be a payoff for any of the Tavern Tier 1s. And we see that this is kind of the first of your lower cost minions enabling you to get bigger payoffs on Tavern Tier 2. Um, Going to Tavern Tier 3, we still have Bird Buddy. This is going to be a payoff with the Death Rattle so far. So this is another, it's going to be really clean to do something like Mana Saber, Hummingbird into Bird Buddy. Um, Forest Rover, Battle Cry, your Beetles have 2 on the rest of this game. Death Rattle 2/2, and it's a 4/2 minion. So if you just play Forest Rover, it's a 4/2 plus a 4/3. So 8/7 stats, or no, sorry, 8/5 stats on just this one minion is a really good Tavern Tier 3. Assuming you have, so we have like Rylak still around. So I imagine there's going to be an early game combo of doing McCall, Rylak, and Forest Rover, and this is going to be your early game way to start buffing your Beetles exponentially because you can play Bran and Baron in this and have some huge payoffs after you get these Beetle buffs going. Scarab's another one that you can reborn your McCall, reborn your Rylak, and get those buffs more in a game. Chameleon's still around. What's kind of notable with this is Chameleon isn't necessarily like a beast card, but it's a very good scam tech unit where let's say you have like a huge minion that you've been buffing the entire game, you can play an Avenge 5, transform into the minion, and you essentially get double the minion payoffs for whatever you've been buffing. Rylak, we kind of just talked about. This is going to mainly have. What's kind of interesting is Beats really never had battle cries, and Force Rover is now going to be like the new beast payoff. So what I'm imagining is going to happen in a game is you play something like Buzzing Vermin, you play Snapjaw or Hummingbird on turn 2. You play Rover, McCall, Scarab, Tavern Tier 3, and then you go into Rylak, Tavern Tier 4, and you have a couple Beetle summons, you have Beetle buffs, and you have a lot of just payoff right here that you're going to already have a very strong Tavern Tier 4. Sly Raptor's still around. This is kind of like a payoff if there's any type of I don't know, beast summon kind of buffs. But that kind of doesn't seem like the way that beasts are kind of leaning right now. And then a new Tavern Tier 4, Turquoise Skitterer. Death Rattle, your beetles have 1/2 this game, summon a 2/2 beetle. This is going to just be another like long-term beetle buff. You can put a reborn on the skitter using something like Scarab and just get a lot of beetle buffs early while it's also what's like really good about this is buffing your beetles and summoning a beetle as a death rattle, so it has a way to give you long-term scaling and it's a short-term stabilize, and that's very strong. I see Beast right now being one of the strongest like new tribes that I see like having a lot of synergy with it. Going into Tavern Tier 5, Gift Horse is still around. This is mainly relevant with stuff like the Chameleon. I see another Avenge 4 that's playing into the Beetle games. So Gift Horse is really going to be a payoff for those kind of effects. Goldrin's still around, so you're still going to have something like a McCall Mecha Horse with Goldrin as a comp. Nest Swarmer, Death Rattle, summon 3/2/2 Beetles. This is just a late game payoff for the Beetle buff comp. New, new. I never learned how to pronounce this guy. Nuzao. Whenever this attacks, deal damage equal to its attack to another random enemy minion. This is kind of interesting in Beasts. Just like Beasts don't really have a cleave. This is the closest thing to it. Really, this is mostly like the Beast Menagerie unit. You don't really. There's no other units that we've kind of seen that are good for Beasts in a like Menagerie buff comp. This is kind of your best unit for that kind of thing that has like a Divine Shield or a Cleave type effect. Indomitable Mount was right now the best previous one just because it like did a lot of like scamming with summoning 3 units. But this is at least the purpose of Nuzao. Primate, something we've kind of noticed is there's not a lot of payoffs for Primate. It's might be okay to triple into if you have some like Raptor kind of stuff, but Primate's definitely going to be a little bit worse, especially because its main payoff was with a lot of the like scallywag based pirate comps that were a little bit trinket relevant. Ruined Progenitor. Avenge 4, your beetles have 2/2 this game. Death Rattle summon a 2/2 beetle. The main thing with this is it's really not better than like the Rover or the Skitterer unless you're able to avenge 8 every turn. So, assuming you have this as your last minion, how can you have 8 minions die? Well, you have 6 spots on your board. You really just need 2 Death Rattle effects, which we have 2 already. And this, gets 2 procs, and you're reasonably able to get 4/4. You can also use Gift Horse as a really good way to potentially get 3 of these 2/2 buffs every turn, and that's going to be extreme scaling for your beetles in the mid game. What's kind of interesting is the Tavern Tier 6 minions don't really synergize super well with the beetle combat. It would have been really interesting, I think, to have one of these Tavern Tier 5s maybe have a bigger effect. Maybe make this like an Avenge 3 or a 3/3 buff or summon multiple beetles and make it a 6 and get rid of one of these. Just like Gulba Cobra, after a friendly Death Rattle minion dies, give your minions 2/1 permanently. None of your minions you really actually want buffed with this whole beetle comp. Really, their whole thing is let a lot of things die to buff your beetles, and then let your beetles do the like end game comp. Goldrin is going to be its own build around comp if you do McCall, Gift Horse, and Goldrin. Indomitable Mount's going to be playing into that comp. But really, the main thing I get out of this is it's going to be more relevant to stabilize on 5 rather than finding the key 6 drops with the like beast changes. I think the whole playing into this beetle comp's going to be a reasonable thing just because of how strong this early game like summon unit into Hummingbird, into Rover and McCall and Scarab, into Metalhead. Like I don't think people are going to be able to understand how strong it is for Beast to have a battle cry payoff. The whole thing with Rylak is Rylak was really dependent on you having another tribe that got paid off with it, and having a guarantee like way to play with Rylak is going to be super strong. So that's kind of my prediction around Beast and just kind of summarizing the changes around them. Feel free to comment if there's something you think I'm missing with this or that I'm kind of overhyping how strong Beasts are going to be. Otherwise, leave a like if you enjoy this content. feel free to subscribe. I've been saying it in every video, but if you want to subscribe just for a week while I put out all these guide contents for the new patch, feel free to subscribe for a week and then leave. If you don't, want the like gameplay or that kind of guide content. So good luck on your guys' end of season 8 climbs. Hopefully you get wherever you're trying to get on your leaderboards. Good luck. Bye.